Now, in this program, any resemblance between the people you see on the screen and real living people is purely intentional. Because, in fact, they are real, and it's our pleasure to catch them in the act of being themselves.
How are you?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good.
Mr. Hughes, Mr. Metz is in Florida, so I'm going to do a little read on that states that everyone acknowledges that I'm not a Florida notary, that I'm an out-of-state notary, and everyone's okay with me proceeding with the deposition. At the end, I'll say if anyone has any objection to this manner of reporting, please state it. Hearing none, I will proceed. And then I'll go in.
Very good.
So if you're ready for me to get going, I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, great. The attorneys participating in this deposition acknowledge that I'm not physically present in the deposition room and that I'll be reporting this deposition remotely. They further acknowledge that of an oath administered in person, I'll administer the oath remotely. The parties agreed that if the witness is testifying from a state where I'm not a notary, that the witness may be sworn in by an out-of-state notary. If any party has an objection to this manner of reporting, please state it now. Hearing none, I will proceed. Okay, Mr. Metz, if you'll raise your right hand for me, please. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Metz, would you state your full name for the record, please?
George Douglas Metz II.
Okay. Now, Mr. Metz, we haven't had an occasion to meet before, but I am Daniel Hughes, and I am representing the City of Easley in the federal court lawsuit that you filed against them in 2023. And I'm here today to take your deposition to find out what you know about this case, what you would testify to at trial, and to get a better understanding of your legal arguments in the case. Have you ever had your deposition taken before?
Yes, sir, I have.
And how many times have you had your deposition taken?
Just once before.
Okay. And how recent was that?
That was a few years back. About 2 years ago, I would say, just off the top of my head. Now, the dates could be a year past, could be 3 years.
And was that a case in South Carolina or somewhere else?
That was a case in Alabama.
Well, let me go over a few ground rules with you about how this deposition is going to take place. I presume the rules of deposition in Alabama are probably pretty similar to South Carolina. But let me just go over with you how this deposition is going to operate. So the rules give me a wide latitude in the questions that I can ask you. And the court reporter who you've met, been introduced to, is taking down everything that you're saying, what you're saying, and what I'm saying. And so it is important that she captures an accurate recording of what both of us are saying. So during the course of the deposition, both of us need to not talk over each other. And so what I would ask you to do is let me finish my question before you begin to answer. And when you answer your question, you cannot or do not just shake your head to indicate a yes or no response, so that for the benefit of the court reporter and me, we know whether or not your response is in the affirmative or the negative. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
I will also ask that if you answer my question, I will assume you understood it. But at any time you do not understand my question, please ask me to rephrase it, and I will do the best that I can to ask it in a different way.
Yes, sir.
Is that understood? Also, during the course of the deposition, if you need to take a break, you can let me know. I do not anticipate this being a lengthy deposition, but if you needed to take a break, you need to just let me know, and we can do that. If we do take a break, you talk to anybody about your testimony that you've given in the deposition. Okay?
Okay.
if you did that, I would have a right to question them what was just. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Now, don't take any offense to this next question, but I ask it of every person that's I depose is, are you under the influence of any alcohol or drugs that would impact your ability to understand what we are doing today?
No, sir.
Very good. So with that, I'll start asking questions related to the case and also personal background information. So I would anticipate the deposition kind of following into two sections. I'm going to ask some personal background information about yourself, and then I will turn to the substance of the case. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm struggling to read what's on your shirt. What does that say?
Don't make me violate my probation.
Okay.
Just a funny shirt. I'm a funny guy. I like to shake things up. So
All right. I'm assuming you're not on probation.
I actually am on probation.
No.
So my wife kind of doesn't. My wife kind of doesn't appreciate it, but I think it's hilarious. I would never violate my probation, and I'm on probation for filming, which is again a question up in the law to be decided if I'm actually a criminal or not. But we're taking it through the court system.
Well, I'll ask you about some of that in a minute. What's your current address?
It's 15301 Northwest 188th Street, Alachua, Alachua, Florida 32615.
And how long have you lived at that address?
It'll be a year in August, so 11 months.
And where did you live? What was your address prior to moving there?
4980 Southeast 140th Street, Summerfield, Florida 34491.
And how long did you live at that prior address?
3 years.
And take me back one further. Prior to the previous address you gave me, where did you live?
I don't remember the number, but it was a address in Bellevue, Florida. It's actually right down the road from the Summerfield place. I want to say it was 125th Street. I don't remember the exact number. I lived there for 5 years.
And how old are you?
I'm 51 today.
Happy birthday.
Well, not as my birthday, but as of today,
Oh, okay.
I'm 51.
Okay. What is your birthday?
11/29/1973.
Have you lived most of your adult life in the state of Florida?
Most of my adult life, yes.
What other states have you lived in?
As an adult, I've lived in Phoenix, Arizona, San Francisco, California, Seattle, Washington, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Hammond, Indiana, and thereabouts. I've lived in a lot of areas around Northwest Indiana, Crown Point, Hammond, Lake Station, Portage.
And you already mentioned your wife. So are you married?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's your wife's name?
Rachel Marie Metz, M-E-T-Z, like mine. Maiden name Livingston.
And how long have you been married?
We've been married now 17 years.
Were you married prior to
No,
Rachel?
No, sir.
Do you have any children?
Yes, sir.
How many?
2.
And are they adults?
My oldest just turned 18. Yes, sir. May 1st.
And do they live with you?
Yes, sir, they do.
And how old is the other child?
12 years old.
How far did you go in school?
I got my GED and some vocational technical classes.
What kind of vocational technical classes did you take?
I did welding and I did A+ certification on hardware and software.
Are you working currently?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. And who's your employer?
I'm a subcontractor. I do work for YouTube. I also do eBay.
And how long have you done that work?
About six years now. Coming up on 7 years, I believe.
What kind of work do you do for YouTube?
I'm an independent journalist, so I gather content to disseminate, usually based around accountability, government accountability, corruption, anything of that nature. So I share
And
people's stories, stuff like that.
and what is your YouTube page called?
Rogue, ROGUE, Nation Audits, AUDITS is the only way you'll be able to find it. It's just called Rogue Nation, but if you put that in the YouTube, it'll come up with the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie.
Okay.
So you add the audits on the end, and mine will be the one that pops up.
Okay, so Rogue Nation Audits.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that the only YouTube page or location where you disseminate reports?
No, sir. I have another channel called Freedom Isn't Free that I also disseminate reports on. I just started another one called Major Lee Awesome.
Major League or Lee?
Lee, Lee.
And do you, and we'll just start with Freedom Isn't Free. Is that channel have similar reports and videos that Rogue Nation Audits has?
Yes, sir, it does.
What's the distinction between the two, if any?
There's none really per se. On my Freedom Isn't Free channel, I do compilations, which is multiple videos of other content providers put together with narration. And on my Rogue Nation channel, it's usually my firsthand reports or live streams, updates, interviews or elected officials, things of that nature. And so now what I've done and going into the third channel I gave you, Major Lee Awesome, I'm going to switch and do all my firsthand reporting on that channel and leave the Rogue Nation Audits channel for interviews and live streams and updates and things of that nature.
And so I'm not that familiar with how YouTube works, but you generate income from the videos you publish on there based upon the amount of views and interaction you receive?
It's based like any other news agency in that we garner our funding through ads, through advertising. So just like the New York Times sells advertising space in their papers, YouTube sells advertising space in our videos. And we get a percentage of the advertising revenue based upon obviously the popularity of our news channels. Just like, CNN gets more ad revenue than the local news station in your town.
Okay. And you also are active on eBay.
Yes, sir.
Is that just simply you selling
Yeah, it's
items?
Yeah, it's buying and selling, reselling. So me and the
Okay.
wife and kids like to go out thrift storing and garage sailing, estate sales. I live in Florida, so there's unfortunately a lot of retirees down here that pass, and there's a huge amount of estate sales. So we just go and buy and try to make money on items like that. It's not a huge boon, but every little bit helps.
Now, I think your email address is Patriot Discussions. Is that just an email handle, or is that Patriot Discussions an actual business or another type of government watchdog group that you manage?
No, that's just my email handle. Um, you know, we if patriots want to have discussions, this is the email they should use.
How did you come to start Rogue Nation Audits?
Um, I am an avid reader, and I was interested in the law, so I would go around and I would pick up old stores or um, college textbook return stores like here in Gainesville, and I would just read for a hobby. And one day I came across some people on YouTube that were, um, recording the government and asking questions and getting answers. So there was a lot of questions on the law that I had that it was hard for the average citizen to get any kind of response from city or local government, state government, obviously. And the higher up you go, the less a response you get. So I saw these gentlemen out there asking questions and getting results. And with my, you know, um, compassion, or not compassion, but my passion for reading and taking in knowledge, I thought that was something that I could apply myself to, and that's what I did. I picked hammer and I started asking questions. What the triggering moment was the story about the kids at Dozier School for Boys, the 80 boys that were raped and murdered by state employees, and no one was ever prosecuted. I thought to myself that if the state was having a problem watching its own employees, that it was up to the citizen then to step up as a civic duty and help to make sure that these kind of tragedies and misappropriation of funds and all this stuff just doesn't occur.
What school was that? Say the name again.
It was the Marion. It's You can find it by Googling it. They've made movies about it. It's just a horrible story, a horrible, horrible story.
Prior to you starting the YouTube channels, what kind of work did you do?
But the majority of my life has been based in the service industry, bartending, serving. I started my own company, on-call wait staff, and we did one-off events like birthdays, private dinner parties in Miami and stuff, such as that, weddings, bar mitzvahs. I mean, any kind of private event that you would have, like a caterer or anything such like that, I would hire servers and bartenders out for those events.
Now, earlier you said you like to read, avid reader, started reading some law books. Do you have any formal legal training?
No, sir, I do not.
And you are representing yourself in this litigation, correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
And have you consulted with any attorneys about this case?
No, sir, I have not.
Now, previously I'd asked you if you'd been deposed before, and you said once in Alabama. And so you have been involved in other civil litigation, is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And how many cases have you been involved in on the civil side?
To my recollection, I would say 5 in Florida, 3 in Alabama, and 2 in South Carolina, including this one.
Are all of these cases that you filed as a plaintiff?
The majority, yes, sir.
And without going into each one, well, let me ask you this, were they filed in federal court?
Yes, sir, they were.
Okay. And so I could go on to the federal court website and see all these other litigations that you've been involved in, correct?
Yes, sir, you could.
And are there any other currently pending civil cases you're involved in?
Yes, sir, there is. In South Carolina, Metz v. Smith.
Okay. And which district court is that in pending?
I believe it's in the same court.
And tell me about that case. What's it involved?
I was at a health department in Varnville, South Carolina. I was recording. The ladies asked me to leave. I told them I didn't have to leave. They called the police. The building was getting ready to close, so I stepped outside the building. I was finished recording through the window. The officer showed up. He was the deputy chief of police of Varnville, Michael Smith. He told me to stop recording, made me shut off my camera, made me identify. So I have First and Fourth Amendment violations against him.
And I'm sorry, what city again was that?
Varnville, South Carolina. It's down in the southern part.
Okay, but near the coast?
Yes, sir. It's gosh, it's been so long since I've been there. I can't even tell you what county it's in there, but it's down near the southern part of the Columbia. I would say it's southeast of Columbia, around those parts. Just a real small town.
Yeah, I figured it was. What caused you to go there and start video recording?
I work on an ever expanding circle from my home. So when I started, I recorded the government around my location, and when they started to realize that it was our right to come and record and ask questions, I then would move out. My circle would become larger. So I've probably been to over 1,500 public buildings now in the 6-7 years, and I've gone as far out west as Texas, California, Arizona. I've gone as far as north as Connecticut and Chicago. So it was just in my wheelhouse, I guess you could say, that day. So what I'll do is I'll so now, because of probation, I pretty much stopped my activities because an unlawful arrest is almost assured, and that would violate my probation. So I've stopped going out and doing firsthand reports a lot of this instance. But when I pick back up, I'll be in the northern part of South Carolina, parts of North Carolina. What I do as part of work is I'll leave on a Sunday night. I'll drive 6 or 7 hours up to a location. I'll get a hotel room or an Airbnb, and then I will find all the public buildings in that area that I can get to in that day or the next day. And then I will go and I'll record and I'll ask questions. I'll make sure that they respect our right to record in the public areas. And then there's no issues, then there's no issues. Unfortunately, in some areas, there's issues.
And would you consider yourself these trips you take like a First Amendment audit?
Yeah, yes, sir. That's exactly what they are. They're an audit of our First Amendment rights to be free press, to hold the government accountable, the Fourth Estate. That's what most people don't understand, what the free press is, and the free press was specifically put into place to watch the government. Came down to the New York Giants was to watch the government.
Have you, in any of these other federal cases that you've been involved in, did any others besides this case that we're talking about today that filed against City of Easley involve the infringement of your First Amendment rights?
They all involve the infringement of my First Amendment rights.
And in any of these cases, have any of them been resolved in your favor?
There's some that I can't talk about how they were resolved, but some were resolved in my favor, yes, that I can talk about. And
those are through confidential settlement agreements?
I'm not sure on what I can say on any of that. You can obviously go and Pacer and see the outcomes of all the cases.
But what you're saying is that you believe the resolution to be confidential. Is that fair?
That would be fair.
Okay.
I'm sorry, repeat your answer, please.
That would be fair.
Thank you. The very end of that cut out.
Now, you currently said you were on probation, and what are you on?
It's a charge in Georgia called loitering near inmates.
And did you go to trial, or did you plead guilty?
No, I went to trial. I also appealed it to the Georgia Supreme Court, which they denied, so I'll be filing a habeas.
And when was that conviction?
That conviction was, I want to say 2023, late April 2023.
And what was your sentence?
3 years probation.
So when does your probation end?
It ends May 2020.
And did that charge emanate from a First Amendment audit that you were engaging in?
Yes, sir, it did.
What was the arrest date?
December 4th, 2020, I believe. Maybe 21.
And when did you go to trial?
April 2023. We had a week-long trial.
Did you represent yourself?
No, sir. I had a public defender using my arguments, but a public defender.
Okay. A week-long trial, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was going to say it's for a 100-year-old statute that they never prosecuted anybody before me under. So, interesting case.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Have you had any other criminal convictions?
Yes. Recently, I was convicted for filming in the Social Security Administration office in the Middle District of Florida. I was convicted in December 2024, and I got 6 months probation, which just ended.
And that was a charge for filming at the Social Security office?
Yes, sir. Yeah, filming and disobeying an official sign.
Did you plead guilty to that
No,
charge?
sir, I took it to trial, and
Okay,
I'm taking it to appeals. It's in
that was
appeals
a
now.
quick resolution. What, was that a federal charge, federal
Yeah,
misdemeanor?
yes, sir. They were a total of six federal misdemeanors because I filmed in 3 different locations.
All right. Besides that charge, is there any other criminal convictions?
Yes, sir. When I was younger, 18, I was convicted of a burglary to a dwelling.
I'm sorry, repeat the charge.
Burglary to a dwelling. I was back in 1992.
Did you have to do any time for that?
I volunteered to do the time. They offered me probation and house arrest. I told them to send me to prison. They gave me 3 years. I did 3 months. I was released on CRD, which was controlled release date. And I was violated on my probation in 96, and I went back and did 10 months on that original charge, and I believe I got out in 97. So all of 96 I was locked up for a violation of my parole, and did the remainder of my sentence, which was like 10 months in prison.
Any other convictions besides those 3?
Not that I can recall right off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure there might be some traffic stuff or something of that nature, but nothing of any significance. The burglary was my only felony in my adult life before I picked up a camera in government.
Are there any charges pending, criminal charges?
No.
And so you are planning to appeal or in the process of appealing both of the convictions for the loitering near the inmates and the filming the Social Security office?
Yes, sir, that's correct. The Social Security office one is already in appeal. The briefs are before the district judge, and I'm yet to write the habeas, but that'll be coming soon.
Okay, let's talk about the case you filed against the City of Easley. Have you ever been to the City of Easley?
Yes, sir, I have.
And how many times?
To the best of my recollection, I would say 3. It could be as little as 2, though. Definitely been there at least twice, but it may be as many as 3 or possibly 4.
Okay.
It's hard to recollect, but I know I've been there at least 2 times. I've got evidence at least of 2 times, I know.
And do you recall when those visits occurred?
Not the dates, no, sir.
Did they occur prior to you filing this lawsuit?
Absolutely.
Did they occur prior to the adoption of the ordinance that you are challenging?
Absolutely.
So the ordinance that you're challenging was not in effect at the time you visited Easley?
No, sir, it was not.
What did you when you did visit Easley? So let me just make sure, kind of clarify this. But the ordinance you challenged was approved second reading on December 12th, 2022, and so your visits to Easley would have been prior to that date.
One of those visits was on the date of that second reading. I was at that meeting.
Okay. So you actually attended the public meeting where they adopted the ordinance?
Yes, sir, I did. And I told them before they adopted the ordinance that if they adopted the ordinance that it was unconstitutional and that I would sue. And I gave out a notice of intents to sue, I believe, at that meeting or the next day. I provided them to them.
Did you speak at the public meeting about that?
I did.
And do you have a copy of that recording?
I sure do. It's on my channel.
And so your purpose for visiting the City of Easley on the date they passed this ordinance was for the purposes of attending the council meeting?
Absolutely.
And the prior visit, you said you remembered at least two. So I'm just going to, let's just say that's the second. Is that the last visit to Easley?
That was the last. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's fine. So that was the last time you visited Easley?
Yes, sir. That was the last time I went to Easley, was that reading. And like I said, I think the next day I delivered my notice of intent to sue.
What was the prior visit to Easley that you recall? When was that?
That had to be a few months before the passing of the ordinance. We had gone to request some records, and matter of fact, now I think about it, there's it. But the one visit I remember most distinctly was we had gone in to request some records, and they had turned on the music. And when we arrived there, they had turned up the music, because there's a myth that if you play commercial music while we're recording, that we're not allowed to post it, or we're not allowed to monetize it, or something of that nature. But what I did to foil that was I walked next to the speaker and I started singing right along with it through the whole video. And then I came home and I posted it to show them that wouldn't deter me from practicing my rights. It's a common tactic used by people to stop people from exercising their rights of recording to play commercial music.
What building were you in when that occurred?
City Hall. I was in the public lobby of the City Hall.
And how many times have you visited the public lobby of the City Hall?
I'm going to say at least twice, now that I think about it.
And would both of those visits be on your YouTube channel?
They most certainly should be. I was hacked a while ago and my YouTube channel got taken down. Some of my videos were made private. So I'll go back through and look to make sure that those are made public, so that way you can see them. And once I find them, I'll email a link to, I believe Tilda is her name. Email links, so that way you don't have to search through, because there's 1,900 videos on my channel. So, and I don't think really most of them do I include identifying information like this was Easley, so it would be hard to find them. Look them, make sure they're public, and send links to you so you can observe those.
Was there any particular reason that you visited the City of Easley?
They had violated a co-worker of mine's First Amendment, and he was the one who reached out to me to next visit. Was leave when they music. I believe that was my first visit there. But again, I could be mistaken about the order of the visits, because it's been so long, and I've been, again, to so many buildings and had so many interactions.
So,
yeah, my coworker, we're all independent, but he is also an independent journalist. So sometimes we'll get together and do reports together, like if I'm in his area or if he is down in my area, such as that. We don't work under like a same company or umbrella or anything of that nature. So a coworker as I guess you could put it as a kindred spirit almost.
maybe
okay.
Okay.
Right.
What was his name?
only know him by his first name, Skip. He ran the channel for officer safety, and at the time, one of his channels was Upstate SC News, I believe was the name of his channel. And I don't recall his last name if I even knew it, because a lot of us remain anonymous for retaliation purposes. The government likes to retaliate, hence I'm on probation. But so we like to remain anonymous as much as possible.
But obviously, he was based out of South Carolina, right?
Yes, sir. He is based up there out of South Carolina, that general area. I think Easley's 30 or 40 minutes from his home.
Was it his video recording at the City of Easley that prompted the city to adopt the ordinance you're challenging?
It was our continued videos of the city that prompted them to enact the ordinance. They wanted to stop us from coming in and recording them and asking them questions.
How many times are you aware of that someone, either you or somebody else, went to Easley City Hall to video record?
Did that first time, and I know that there were multiple trips back by him and other people, including me. There were about 6 or 7 of us that were up there for the second ordinance, including excuse me, including a gentleman from North Carolina called Brand Ample News was up, and I believe the recording of the meeting is on his channel. There were some other gentlemen from further down in South Carolina, Swamp Fox News, Pepperoni Audits, South Guardian, I believe, were all at that meeting.
Okay. So again, back to my question. Do you know how many times someone visited Easley City Hall to do a First Amendment audit?
I don't have an exact figure, no, sir. I would estimate at least 4 or 5 times before the ordinance was passed. Just the City Hall, that was also to the police department as well.
In your experience, is 4 to 5 First Amendment audits at one municipality more than usual?
Yeah, usually it is. When I go out and do my audits, usually is that they just don't understand the law, right? They think that you need consent to record in public. They think that, there's this myth going around that the public forum doctrine automatically negates any First Amendment rights. And we know that to not be true for many different reasons. Tinker versus Des Moines, for one. First Amendment activity was allowed in a school, which is obviously a limited or non-public forum. So even in the public forum doctrine, there's some limited instances where First Amendment activity is allowed. But as far as gathering content, they mistake gathering content for the act of, filming for a documentary or something such as that nature, where it's not content is not the. And so what happens is I go in there. Sometimes they feel uncomfortable. They call the police. The police will trespass me. And then we'll go through the process of contacting supervisors, county attorneys, people such of that nature to work out the issue that way. And then I'll go and do a revisit. In the field that I'm in, I'm probably the guy that has implemented the revisit more than any other independent journalist. And the reason I do that is to make sure that after I've been there that initial time, that they have, talked with their supervisors, they understand the law, and that way when I go in the second time, I've got a close to 80-90% success rate, to where that second time I go in, They respect my rights. They don't ask me to leave. They don't say what I'm doing is illegal, you know. And if I go in there and ask for a FOIA request, they handle it professionally, like they should. So to go to a place 4 or 5 times, for them not to grasp some of these basic concepts is really unheard of. It is, and you'll be able to see that through my videos, through my channel, because I have playlists, and one of my playlists is called Revisits. And you can go in there and you could see the second times that I've gone in there, and very few of the second times have resulted in an interaction or worse interaction than I got the first time. So
Were you ever told by the City of Easley to leave?
I'm not sure. I can't remember all what transpired verbally in there. I know there was a lot of violations, statutes like the Public Records Act. Tommy Holcomb, the city administrator, regularly denied our FOIA requests for reasons that weren't legal. And again, I can't remember them right off the top of my head. I'll go back through the video. I'll be able to tell you exactly the reasons why. I believe one of them was because he wanted our information, like our names, and we're allowed to make anonymous requests. So there are a lot of instances like that I can recall, but not verbally.
And all of these instances that you're claiming you would have video records of?
Absolutely. Anytime I interacted with Easley, it's on video.
You can provide the video. Okay. And along those lines, you received copies?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. And are you in the process or planning to respond to those?
Yes, sir, I am. As a matter of fact, I should have those off to you. I'll be sending the interrogatories electronically first to you, but I'll be sending you a hard copy as well through the mail, along with any videos or flash drives of information that I have that's pertinent to the case. Okay. That you requested. Obviously, I have nothing to hide. I'll be holding nothing back. Anything in my possession or knowledge, I'll let you know.
And just so we can button this up, so the last time you visited Easley was the date that this ordinance was passed, and so you were never cited for any violation of the ordinance that you are declaring as unconstitutional. You are seeking to declare as unconstitutional.
That's correct.
Are you aware of anyone else, any other person in Alder, anyone else who's been cited under this ordinance that you're challenging?
Yes, sir, I do. I don't know his last name. His first name is Billy or William. He goes by the Benghazi Rabbit on YouTube. But he was protesting outside of City Hall. He usually wears like a white rabbit outfit. He was protesting outside of City Hall. He went inside to sit down for a second, and they almost immediately arrested him. They didn't ask him much of anything, I don't believe. It was literally within a minute he was arrested from walking in and sitting down. And I'll have to see if I can find the video. There's a lot of craziness going on with those folks now. That's not related to this case, but I'll try to locate that video, because I did get sent his copy of his video, and I'm hoping to get recordings from City Hall or body cam footage of their side of it.
Okay. All right. So that guy was named the Benghazi Rabbit. And do you know when that occurred?
I don't know the date, no, sir. It was obviously after the ordinance was passed. I do know that Skip was with him. Skip was outside recording from outside when other gentlemen, I can't remember who was.
And you don't, other than him going inside City Hall and then getting arrested, are you aware of any other facts and circumstances regarding that arrest?
No, sir, I'm not. I'm not sure what the of not.
In your complaint that you filed August 2nd, 2023, you stated that you intend to break or violate the ordinance. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But you haven't done that yet.
No, sir. No, sir. If I was to lose in court, then my next step would be to challenge the ordinance by breaking it.
And in it, I'm referring to paragraph 15, you say, I have no issue stating that I intend to break this law, and the government has already enforced it on a journalist. And the journalist you're referring to, is that the same as the Benghazi rabbit?
That is correct. Yeah, the record will definitely show that I'm not adverse to challenging the law by getting arrested. One of my civil cases was an arrest in the port of Tampa, Florida, where they thought they had the authority to trespass me. So I went back with all the relevant documents, and I had my lawyer present as a witness. Mr. Hughes, do you mind if I stand up for a moment and feed my cat real quick? He's yelling at me.
Okay, sure, that's fine.
I'm right here. Hold on, buddy. Sorry.
Well, that was quick.
Yeah, he's right here. The food and the bowl's right here. He doesn't wait.
Yeah, I know who's running the show then at your house.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to ask you, before I got involved in the case, when you actually filed your complaint, the federal court magistrate who initially reviewed your case issued a report and recommendation that the case should be dismissed. Remember that?
I do.
Okay. And then in response to that, you issued your response to the recommendation, and that was filed September 28, 2023. And I want to ask you about some of the things you wrote in there.
Sure.
So in the first paragraph, you said, I was contacted by another journalist to help investigate corruption in the town of Easley, South Carolina. So based on our previous discussion, is the other journalist, is that Skip?
That is Skip.
And what in corruption were you seeking to investigate?
Well, we had a tip by a city council member that the mayor was not allowing the city council member access to records sort of gatekeeping. We also had information that the mayor was using a vehicle that was not provided to him, was not supposed to be provided to the mayor in the city charter or bylaws. He was also the vehicle that he was using was an emergency vehicle. It was equipped with emergency lights, which is actually illegal for him to be driving. There was also reports that him and his wife were filling up their personal vehicles at the pump, the city pump for the police officers and such. So there were a lot of ongoing investigations that were cut short by the issue of the ordinance.
Do you know who the council member was who tipped you off?
I don't recall. Skip was in touch with them more than I was, so I met them once or twice, but I don't recall their name.
You say you said you actually met with them?
Yes, I did.
Was it male or female?
Well, I'd kind of like to keep that on the down low because I'm not sure if they're still working in the city council, so I don't really reveal my sources as far as that go. It's not a criminal investigation. I'm not really required to.
Well, I mean, you've alleged in your case that were tipped off to investigate corruption by a council member, and that's a city attorney. And then, based on the rules of discovery, I think I'm entitled to be aware of where you got what the basis for your investigation was. So I don't think it's privileged.
I mean, we could let the court figure that out, I guess, then, because I think it is privileged. I mean, the multiple investigations I had going, only one was tied to the council member, so that doesn't really affect anything.
Well, I disagree. I guess we can let the court decide about that. And so there's other reasons you were there to investigate other than that, investigating the mayor?
Well, no, the mayor was a big part of it, but our investigations had revealed the car and the lights and the using of the gas and stuff like that. The city council member had only contacted us contacted Skip because the mayor was gatekeeping them from accessing records. That was the only part that was part and parcel of that. Our own investigations had led to a plethora of other instances, like the mayor had, before becoming mayor, had been accused, I believe, of stealing money from his father, $50,000, stuff like that. So we were digging up information as we were going, but hardly any of that was tied to anything the city council member had told us.
Have you ever had other city council members reach out to you to assist with investigation of corruption or wrongdoing?
Yes, sir, I have. City members, county council members, police officers, a whole bunch of people.
And do you, based upon these corruptions or wrongdoings in the city of Easley that you have mentioned before, do you know the results of any of that investigation?
No, like I said, once they passed that ordinance, for fear of being prosecuted, we pretty much stopped going to investigate them because, again, we all have responsibilities. I have a family I have to take care of, stay-at-home wife and 2 children I have to support. So I can't afford to have my investigations hindered by spending time in the county jail, which, again, even without ordinances, they throw me in jail anyway. So with an ordinance, I'd definitely be going to jail, right? Because they don't like, criminals don't like light being shown, shined on them. So they try to avoid it.
in the next sentence of this response that you filed, you state that you were greeted with unhelpful and rude city officials. Can you be more specific as to what you're referring to?
Yeah, Tommy Holcomb, the city administrator. You'll see it in the videos.
And then you said that because of our investigation, the city tried a number of ways to keep us out, including playing copy music at loud volume in the public lobby to keep us from being able to disseminate our recording. That's what you were talking about earlier?
Yes, sir, that was.
And any other, you mentioned the playing the loud music, and you said other number of ways. What other ways did they try to keep you out?
Stan Whitten, the ex-police chief there of Easley, reached out to one of our detractors, a gentleman by the name of Mark Stout, who runs a channel called Frauditors Exposed. So instead of auditor, they call us frauditors because they don't like the fact that we keep the government accountable. They think we're harassing them. And so Stan reached out to Mark to find out ways on which they could possibly deter us. And, you know, so that was one of the ways.
How do you know that?
Mark was gracious enough to put a copy of the email in his community page. So anybody in the world can go read the email that Stan sent Mark.
And what was his last name? Mark what?
Stout. S-T-O-U-T. Mark Stout. M-A-R-C.
And you've got a copy of this email that you're going to provide?
I got a screenshot of the copy. I talked to Mark. He said he would look for it. He hasn't gotten back to me. I guess we could subpoena him or subpoena his records, but I'm sure it's also available. I asked for it in Discovery, all the emails. So it should be in Stan's email, Discovery, or any of the city, excuse me, I revised that, any city employees' email to Mark.
Any other ways that besides the playing the loud music and Stan Whitten's email to Mark Stout that the city tried to keep you out?
Just by being rude and not being helpful. It wasn't so much as being kept out as being also treated almost like a second-class citizen, I guess you could say. Not allowing us to file FOIA requests because of their made-up policies that, again, violated state law, the State Records Act. Instances like that. You know, they kicked Skip out, obviously, once.
Well, when this particular time that they plowed the loud music, so tell me exactly what transpired from the time you arrived at City Hall to the time you left.
Well, if I remember correctly, and again, I've had literally over 1,000 interactions. From what I can recall, we entered the building. There was music playing, but once we entered in the building, they turned the volume up. And I believe we tried to get some record requests. I know I did some singing. I did a lot of singing. It was really good music they were playing. I had no problem with that. You know, it was just, you know, them trying to, you know, stop us from being able to disseminate that recording of how they acted when we would go in there and request records and try to conduct business, you know, that public entities should allow.
Did you have a written FOIA request that you wanted to deliver to the city? So earlier you were talking about them denying you access to public records. So tell me how they denied you access.
Well, you can. I don't believe there's a required form that you have to fill out. I believe just a piece of paper will do to write your FOIA request out on. And so I would write my FOIA request to my recollection, and I would turn it in, and Tommy would come out and he would say, well, you got to do this. And again, I don't recall exactly what he was asking, but I do know that it was not in line with the state statute. It wasn't obligated on me to provide any of that he was asking for. And so because I wasn't providing that, he was denying my record request. He wouldn't take my record request because I wouldn't provide stuff that, again, I wasn't obligated by state statute to provide. And it might have been a name, it might have been an address, it might have been a phone number, it might have been anything of that nature. I'm not exactly sure. I can't recall. I'd have to watch the video to remember.
And how long were you there?
I couldn't give you a number. I would say probably less than 30 minutes, I'm sure.
And so when you do your First Amendment audits, are you holding your camera in front of you, or you have it like a strap to your chest? How do you record?
I usually have a rig that I carry in my hand, and it could have a monopod on it, or it can just be like a C-type clamp with a camera, and then I have a 360 camera that it sits on top. I also do sometimes wear body cameras that could be like a GoPro with a strap, or it could be just like a police body camera that like clips to the collar of my shirt. I'm not sure what my recording equipment was on that day. I have multiple rigs.
How would you, by you going to the City Hall lobby in the City of Easley, how would you be investigating corruption?
Well, in that instance, we were going to request records. But on most First Amendment audits, what we're doing first and foremost is making sure that the public employees don't violate our right to gather content. So, an example, when I first started years ago, every building I went into, almost every building I went into, they would violate my right to gather content because I was recording. They would say, you're not allowed to be in here, you can't do this, you can't do that. Fast forward 5 years now, almost any building now you go into Florida recording, they don't say anything to you. So in order to even start to begin to investigate for corruption, you have to first be allowed to be in the building recording and asking questions. Until we get to that point, there can be no investigation. There only can be trespass and false arrests and going through the court system. So we had to create that base understanding that, yes, we're allowed to be in here, we're allowed to ask you questions, we're allowed to request public records. But with the case in Easley, again, we had already had a violation occur when Skip went there the first time. They trespassed them. They were extremely rude. The mayor was extremely dodgy and suspect throughout the whole, I don't want to say process, but when Skip got there, he was, asking the mayor questions. He was really dodgy, which sends up red flags. And so we went back, and again, we go back and we find out more information. Cards. I have a something program, just like the business card for public officials, to be able to anonymously report, going-ons within the government that we can investigate. And so, that's how a lot of unearthing occurs, so, that's just one aspect of it.
But to your recollection, when you went there, well, let me ask you. You said you thought you'd been there 3 times. How many times have you been inside the City Hall lobby?
At least twice that I know of for sure.
And did you ever, in terms of you making a written records request, did you ever have anything, were you making your request verbally for documents? Is that what you were saying?
No, I would write down my requests. To my recollection, I would write down the request, but and again, I'd have to refresh myself on the South Carolina state statute, but I believe if I was to do a verbal request, that would be allowable as well by state statute. I know down here in Florida it is. Again, I'd have to refresh myself with the South Carolina Open Records Act.
Do you have copies of whatever you wrote down to request?
Probably not. I might have it on video. Usually what I'll do is I'll take like a little video capture of what I'm requesting. So that would probably be in the video.
I'm going to show you a document. I'm going to let's see here. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it a little bit. Looks like how to join the meeting.
Oh no, that's not what I'm trying to share the ordinance that you're challenging. Let me see.
The new one?
No, the old one. Hold on a second.
Dan, if you'll open up the document, take down what's on the screen now. I'm going to go off the record because I can't write and type at the same time.
Yeah.
Write and talk at the same time. Take down what's on the screen.
What do you mean?
Okay, so right now what we're looking at is it looks like we're looking at maybe your email inbox.
Okay. Oh, okay. Take that down.
Close that out. There you go. Click that X. Okay. Now on your screen, before you click share screen, find the ordinance that you want, pull it up on your screen, and then click share screen.
Okay. some reason it's not popping up. How do I? Okay, now let me try. Yeah, when I click on share, it's not coming up on as an option to show.
I do have those permissions enabled. So I've never actually worked share screen from like the attorney's end, because I've never had to share my screen. All I know is that if you'll pull up on your screen, do you have the ordinance pulled up on your screen?
I do.
Okay, so when you go down here and you click share screen, there should be like a blue, once you click share screen, there should be whatever's up on your screen. It should say share. Does that blue share button at the bottom not show up?
Well, it's not highlighted. It's nothing for me to click on. I see share, but it doesn't allow me to click on it.
Interesting, because you did share just a minute ago. You did share like your inbox, like what was on your screen, you did share that.
Yeah, and now it's not.
Okay, so what I see here, Mr. Hughes, is that if you press that share button, a box will pop up. And at the top of the box, it says entire screen. It then goes down to application windows. Do you see that?
I see window and Chrome tab as options, and I click on all of them, and it doesn't.
What about up at the very top? It says screens, documents, and advanced. Do you see that?
No, that's not on mine.
Huh.
Okay, yeah, when I click on the share, on my screen, the share button is green at the very bottom. So when I click on that, it gives me the options that Mr. Metz was saying at the very top. It's got screen, documents, advanced, and my share button at the bottom is in blue. It's not grayed out. And beyond that, I don't know. I've never had an issue where someone says that they couldn't share a document once I'm enabled.
And I've shared before. I mean, I've done this.
Well, and you just shared a minute ago because you did share your email inbox. So I don't know I mean, is there something about maybe your document that is stopping that document from being shared? Or is there some kind of privacy set to that document maybe? I don't know. I'm thinking outside the box here.
Yeah. Let me.
Do you want to just go over it verbally?
Well, it would be very good for us to look at it together. Let me try again.
You could also email me and I could look at it on my phone while I'm talking to you here. If you want to look at it together that way. I don't think I have a copy of it handy with me. While you're figuring that out, Daniel, I'm going to go feed my chickens real quick. Give me like 2 minutes.
Okay.
I wish I could help you, but
I know. Yeah.
So that's bizarre when you actually open up the document yourself on your screen that you then can't share it. So is your document embedded in an email?
No, it's a separate PDF document.
And there's no privacy permissions on the PDF document, like you don't have to.
Nah. Let's see here.
Oh, that looks promising. Okay, now I can see your list of documents, so
the ordinance didn't pop up just now?
well, I see your cursor on the ordinance highlighted the document 2022-33. But the document itself isn't up. What I see is your file list of documents.
But yeah, so why wouldn't it have just
Did you click share before you, so you like open the document, then click share. So it looks like maybe you clicked share before you opened the document. So we see your file list, and it looks like it looks like I could see documents at the top. So yeah, so you are able to share. So wherever you were just at, it's like you need to go one step further, actually click on the document, see it on your screen, then click the share button at the bottom.
Okay. All right, try it once more here.
Yeah, you're getting close. That's okay. Listen, you are so not the only one. Listen.
All right, so I pulled up the document.
So now you're just looking at the document, right? Like not the file list of all the documents, just the document, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, now go down and click the green share at the bottom. And it should have popped up.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not.
So that is
I do have the ordinance pulled up here, though. If you want to look at it together, I have access to it. I could see it.
Is that the 2022-33?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is Ordinance 2022-33 passed 12/12/22 off of the Code Library, American Legal Publishing.
Okay.
Chapter 99.01, Control of Access to City-Owned, Controlled, and Leased Property.
Okay. 99.0. So Michelle, let's do this.
okay.
I will email you this exhibit.
That's perfect.
Afterwards, so you can attach it to the deposition.
Okay.
But we will refer to this as, well, let me back up. So Mr. Metz, in your complaint, this is your amended complaint that you filed August 2nd, 2023, which I would also ask be attached as an exhibit to the deposition. In it, you typed out your statement of your claim. And I'm going to read it to you. You state that the City of Easley passed an unconstitutional ordinance that restricts my rights of free press to gather information on public employees in the course of their duties. Copy of the ordinance is attached. Statement of claim attached. Tell me why this ordinance, and I'm referring to the ordinance you've got pulled up on your phone, ordinance number 2022-33, why you believe it to be unconstitutional.
Because it restricts access to public areas for the purposes of gathering content.
Any other reasons besides that?
No.
So let's go to the ordinance itself that you have pulled up. And the first part of the ordinance, does it have whereas clauses in it? Or is it just starting with
Consistent with decisions of the U.S. Supreme Court, so it starts with A.
okay.
So just the ordinance.
Let me ask you this. Do you agree with me that the First Amendment does not guarantee access to all government-owned property?
I would agree.
And so do you agree with me that the government has a right to place restrictions on access to government property?
Absolutely.
And do you agree with me that the government has a right to designate certain areas based upon either a public forum, non-public forum, or limited public forum?
No, I don't.
And what are you basing that on?
The public forum doctrine.
And what is your understanding of the public forum doctrine?
The public forum doctrine is a test that the courts apply when there's a restriction that restricts First Amendment rights. It's not something that the government says, well, this is a public forum or this is a non-public forum. That's for the courts to decide. And they only decide that issue when there's a restriction. So a purpose is a airport is a non-public forum. I record there all day long, right? Just being a non-public forum doesn't mean it loses its rights.
So you say an airport terminal is a non-public forum? Is that what you're saying?
That's what the Supreme Court decided, yes.
Well, earlier when I asked you if the government has a right to restrict access to property, you said they could.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like
Okay. So,
a military base is restricted.
but you're at the same time you're saying that the government cannot designate certain areas as limited public forum, non-public forum, and public forum.
Correct.
And is there a case that you're relying upon that says that the government is not allowed to do that?
Not one that I can recall right off the top of my head. It's just an understanding of the public forum doctrine, the landmark cases of the public forum doctrine. and how the court has applied the public forum doctrine.
Let's just take an example of someone's private office located in a city hall. Do you believe you have a right to go into that private office and record?
It depends on the circumstances.
And what do you mean by that?
McDonald v. Rundle, 11th Circuit. The plaintiff recorded a meeting with the chief of police in the chief of police's office. They tried to intimidate him by saying that he would be charged with wiretapping because it was a non-public forum, and the 11th Circuit said no. There was no expectation of privacy. The door was open. There were a few other people in the room with him during the meeting. So, again, it depends on the circumstances.
And so, okay, in this particular example, someone was standing outside of the office and recording while that conversation was going on?
No, he was inside the office.
Okay, so he had been invited in by the chief to have this conversation.
Correct.
And so are you saying in your example, my example, this private office, that the government could not designate an office space as a non-public forum or a limited public forum?
They can designate it as restricted or non-restricted. The government itself doesn't get to designate public or non-public forum. That's the court's job to decide if a place is a public forum or non-public forum based on a whole bunch of different issues. Has there ever been, public protest there before? Has it been generally open to the public? There's all kinds of instances where the courts will decide what sort of test the forum requires. That's not up to the government. It's not up to City Hall to say, well, our lobby is a non-public forum, and that automatically means that you can't record here. That's not for the government to decide.
I guess I'm not following. Are you saying that the City of Easley had no right to designate which areas of City Hall were public and non-public?
I mean, they could, wordsmith all day long, but the fact of the matter is it's still going to be up to the court to decide if that area is a traditional, or limited, or designated public forum.
But haven't the courts decided or determined what analysis to apply to what's reasonable and unreasonable restriction based upon the forum?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
But haven't the courts adopted tests to determine whether or not the restrictions applied
are constitutional?
Right.
Yes. That test is called the public forum doctrine.
And within that analysis, haven't the courts determined already what is a proper restriction in a limited public forum?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen a case that would explain what you're trying to say. Each case is different. Each limited public forum, non-public forum case is different because the circumstances are different. Where one building might have an auditorium where they allow plays to go on, another City Hall doesn't. So each case is different on what they decide. So I'm not sure. There's no Supreme Court case that says, bam, every City Hall is a non-public forum, and any restriction they pass is only needed to be viewpoint neutral. There's no case like that, no.
All right. Okay, but the court has determined these are the guideposts in which the government needs to follow to determine if they, in order to pass muster under the First Amendment.
Correct. Right. So the cities and councils, they're allowed to pass whatever law they want, constitutional or not, and then it's up to us to challenge them. So if you're saying that the city council only passes constitutional laws because the public forum doctrine gives them this guidance, that's incorrect. They pass unconstitutional laws all the time, and then we take them to court and we find out that they're unconstitutional. The government doesn't get to say that this recording here is legal because this is a non-public forum. They get to say this recording is legal because we passed it, and then it's my job to challenge it, and then it's the court job to say, well, it's a limited public forum, so this does meet the limited public forum test.
So you're saying it requires a court challenge to determine if any
Restriction.
limited
Sorry.
restrictions are proper.
Yes, sir.
So would there be any ordinance adopted that restricting public access to a government area that you say is valid?
The legal understanding, to my knowledge, is wherever the public can go, the press can go. So there's going to be no restriction that's allowed that's going to be able to separate the two. So again, if you're allowing the public into your lobby, you're going to allow the press into your lobby. That's the bottom line. There is no separation there. There's no restriction that can be made there to separate the two, because the press and the public are one and the same.
All right. Well, so my example earlier was a private office.
Correct.
Okay. And you brought up the lobby example.
Yes, because let me clarify. Any areas that are restricted to anybody, to citizens, are also restricted to the press. So I can't go in, a lot of people say, well, why don't you go to the White House? Why don't you go to Fort Knox? Why don't you go to a military base? These are all areas that are restricted to everybody. I'm not looking for any extra rights. The Constitution doesn't give me any extra rights. Case law doesn't give me any extra rights. Case law only says government has opened the doors.
So if, again, back to my example, if a private office in City Hall could be in, even under your view, could be restricted and you would have no right to go in there.
Absolutely. Most private offices are restricted and I never go in them. Hello?
What's that?
You froze for a minute, I think.
Okay. No, I was thinking about my next question. Based upon your review of this ordinance, was the lobby of City Hall restricted?
Hold on, I'm looking it over now. It looks like it.
How's that?
It says easily may be restricted depending or property owned, controlled, and leased by the City of Easley may be restricted depending on whether such areas are classified as designated public forum, limited designated public forum, or non-public forum. How areas are within enclosed facilities owned, controlled, and leased by the city are classified as based upon their intended use. And then it goes on to say that, hold on. There may be time-to-time public meetings, certain limited areas which may be open to the public. So right there it's saying there's certain limited areas which may be open to the public while engaging in legitimate business with city officers and employees.
Do you know if the lobby was designated as a non-public or limited public forum?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Hold on. All other areas of the City Hall and City Hall Annex are hereby designated as limited public forums, and only persons who are present to engage in legitimate public business with city officers or employees shall be authorized. Shall be a violation of this section to be within a non-public or a limited public forum. So, there you go.
Are you referring to section D? Okay. So let's go over that. It says the city council chambers and conference rooms in the city hall and city hall annex are hereby declared to be non-public forums unless or until a public meeting is convened. Are you familiar with how the city hall is set up in the city of Easley?
Slightly. I know that it's a 2-story building. They have some offices down below. They have the main lobby there, and then they have, last time I was there, they had a desk there in the lobby. There was a hallway to the left with offices, and on the right there was a window for public record requests. That's as far as I ever went. I never even went down that hallway to see what was down the hallway, because by the time I'd gotten there, they had restricted access to that hallway with a sign and a cone or some kind of makeshift thing.
And you think that you should have been allowed to go back in that hallway?
Possibly. If it was traditionally open for the public to use, then absolutely.
Well, what if I told you it's not open to the public? Do you think you should still be able to go back there?
I mean, with you just telling me, like if I was there and you were like, hey, that's not open to the public. Sort of like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, does the city have a right to say that, yeah, you can't go back to down that hallway?
The city,
because it's restricted to the public?
well, the city has a right to provide due notice to citizens by signage or some kind of locking mechanism or something of that nature. Do I believe people on the fly when they say, hey, that's a restricted area that has no indication of being a restricted area? Absolutely not. I hear that all the time. Just like I hear you can't record in public buildings all the time. I hear people on the street say I need their consent to record them in public. I mean, I hear that stuff all the time. So no, yeah, my first inclination is not to believe you.
Well, based upon your visit to the city of Easley, you didn't go anywhere outside the lobby area.
Correct.
And then when you went to the city council meeting, that was actually in the police
Department
building,
yes, sir.
right? Okay. And well, I'll tell you, the city of Easley, when they have their public meetings, they have a work session meeting, and then they have the council meeting.
Correct.
Do you remember going to the work session meeting, or you just went to the council
I just went to the council meeting. I know the work session meeting, they usually hold down that hallway. They have a room down there, I believe, from what I remember. But again, I never went down there. So.
But section D, are you reading that to say that the city of Easley determined that the lobby was a non-public forum?
No, they designated it as a limited public forum.
And that's on the, you're talking about I'm sorry, I'm reading. So it says city council chambers and conference rooms in city hall and city hall annex are hereby declared to be non-public forums. And at the time you were there was no public meeting being convened,
No.
as far as you know. Okay. All city employee work areas within City Hall and the City Hall Annex, which are designated by appropriate signage as work areas, shall be considered as non-public forums. And that would be the offices of employees.
Right,
correct?
behind the counter for the person that works in the lobby, that sort of thing.
Okay. And it says members of the public are prohibited from entering city employee work areas without being escorted by a city employee. Correct?
Yes. And that's all reasonable. That part right there is totally reasonable.
Okay. And then it says all other areas of the City Hall and City Hall Annex are here limited public present to engage in legitimate public business with city officer or employees shall be authorized.
Correct.
Yep. Is that right? Okay. And that's the provision that you are having a problem with.
The provision is allowing them to say that their lobby is a limited public forum and that recording is not allowed. So that is part of the issue. Again, because the restriction is going to be challenged, and the court will decide if the lobby is a limited public forum, and even if that applies to the gathering of content. Because again, the public forum doctrine is only for expressive acts. There's never been a case of a public forum doctrine against a journalist gathering content. There's never been a public forum case about an author writing a chapter in his book while he's in line waiting to pay his utility bill. So non-expressive steps of the speech process are not regulated by the public forum doctrine. It doesn't matter what they consider the lobby to be. They could be a super non-public forum of the universe, and it doesn't matter, because I still have that same equal access that the public does to gather content.
Okay, well, how is this provision restricting you from video recording or gathering content?
Well, because they say who are present to engage in legitimate public business. And as you'll see, nobody considers gathering content as legitimate public business, although again, it's the most legitimate public business.
Well, I mean, are you just assuming that that the city of Easley will tell you to leave because you're video recording?
Except within the city council chambers, conference room, and other locations in which a public meeting is being conducted pursuant to a public notice, it shall be unlawful and a violation of the section to record video and or sound within city-owned, controlled, and leased property without the consent of all persons whose voice or image is being recorded. So yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They're saying that recording is illegal and not allowed in their limited public forum. That's
See.
under E.
I'm sorry. Just give me one
Yes,
minute.
sir.
When you were there at City Hall Easley, were you asked to stop recording?
I don't recall.
You don't
No,
recall?
sir.
And you don't contend that this ordinance restricts your ability to record law enforcement activities, right?
That's not exactly what the ordinance says. The ordinance is saying that it doesn't restrict law enforcement recording activities, not that I'm allowed to record law enforcement activities. If that was the case, then the ordinance wouldn't apply to all city buildings. It would exempt the police department. So the part of the ordinance that you're talking about is that it's exempting law enforcement body cam footage. We have no exemption for even law enforcement activities in this statute.
When you were there, were you asked to leave?
Again, I can't recall. I'd have to rewatch the videos, which I should have done before I did this, but I've been pretty busy.
And did you ask for consent to record while you were there?
No, I never asked consent to exercise my rights.
Is it your so it's your position that you should never have to ask for consent to record?
Not in public, that's correct.
What about a limited public forum?
Again, if it's in public where the general public's allowed, where there's no expectation of privacy, then I have full 100% right to record.
All right, if it's a limited public forum where the public is not always allowed, but the city has designated that as such, is it proper to, do you believe it's unconstitutional to require consent for a limited public forum?
I'm not really clear on your question. My stance is always that, again, wherever the public's allowed. So if I'm in a place where the public's not allowed right then and there, like if it's restricted at that moment, then that would be something I might request consent for. But if it's somewhere where the public, if like I'm standing next to a guy I don't know, then no consent is ever required.
And do you agree that the government is allowed to place reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions on recording?
In certain instances, I do believe that's legitimate. But no,
So what is unreasonable about the City of Easley's ordinance?
you mean the blanket prohibition against recording audio and video, even in public areas?
Well, I'm asking you what you believe is unreasonable. What part of it is
The
unreasonable?
blanket prohibition against recording audio and video, including in public areas.
Without consent. Right?
Yeah, they put in their consent, and again, it's their misreading of the Sheets case, because in the Sheets case, if they would have read it correctly, they would have seen that the judge said that no one was allowed to stop Sheets from recording in City Hall. Okay? They could only stop him if he recorded somebody without their consent. And as we can see from the arrest of the first journalist, they misapply the law. Right? They say, oh, we got a prohibition against recording. You come in, you sit down for 40 seconds, you're arrested. Nobody said anything about consent in the video. Nobody said anything about not having consent. Nobody said nothing about stop recording, please leave, any of that. So,
You're talking about in your recording?
no, and the journalist that got arrested in Easley
Oh,
under that ordinance.
do you know what the disposition of that case was?
No, again, I don't know the disposition of the case.
Do you agree with me that video recording of another person can be disruptive?
No.
If a city employee was sitting at the front desk of the lobby and has a clerical role. She's answering phones, greeting people there, coming to City Hall, and you were to come in and start video recording, do you not believe that could be disruptive?
It shouldn't be disruptive.
Well, this person doesn't know who you are, where you're from, what you're there to do. You're just standing there video recording.
Which is legal.
Do you believe that could cause that person to be uncomfortable and not being able to fulfill the role or task they were assigned to do as a government employee?
If that was the case, I would suggest work in the private sector, which I have to many public employees who ask me the same question. Because, again, quite frankly, we're under camera 24 hours a day. There's a camera in every public lobby watching that same receptionist. Is my camera disruptive when their camera's not? Absolutely not.
Yeah, but when a person you don't know is holding it, standing there in front of them, that's different than a surveillance camera that's in the corner of the ceiling, right?
It is in a certain aspect, and it's not, because the way I see it is that the public, being the political entity that's the sovereign power, and we give our jobs to these people to fulfill our needs, then we are technically, as one entity, the boss. Not individually, but as one, we are the boss. So when you ask me, Is it okay for the boss to record his employees? My answer is always going to be 100% yes. And if the employees feel that they can't work under them conditions, then they should, find jobs elsewhere. Unfortunately, even in the private sector, the bosses record us. So they're unfortunately going to be recorded by their bosses wherever they go, unless they own their own company and decide not to record their employees.
So it's your position that the city should only hire people who are comfortable with being video recorded in a public area?
That's part of their job, absolutely. Yeah, their job is to be accountable to the public that they serve 100%. And if they can't be accountable, then they absolutely don't need to work for the government. Absolutely. I mean, like the police say, if you're not doing nothing wrong, there's no issue.
You were not, this ordinance did not restrict you from entering into a public area. You're not claiming that, are
No,
you?
sir.
And you would agree with me that the ordinance applies to anyone who shows up on city property to record?
Absolutely.
All right. Would you agree with me that you are challenging this ordinance on the basis of it requiring consent to record in the city hall lobby?
I'm challenging it on the fact that it's a blanket prohibition on recording without consent. Yes.
Well, but you do recognize the ordinance itself did carve out exceptions for recording in a public setting.
You mean in you mean in the meetings?
Right.
Right.
Because it says except within chambers and other locations in which a public meeting is being conducted.
Correct. But again, that's
Okay.
not all the places that are open to the public in the building.
So besides that prohibition against unconsented to recording, are there any other provisions of this ordinance that you believe are unconstitutional?
I don't know if it's unconstitutional, but the enforcement of it, the trespassing, is definitely not allowable, I guess you could say. State versus Hannipol, 1971, South Carolina Supreme Court held that the trespassing statute doesn't apply to public property. So them trespassing people from the city hall or the police department, again, it's going to end up in litigation.
Well, maybe I should better ask my question. Your case here is based upon a First Amendment violation.
Correct. Yes,
correct?
sir.
So in your complaint says that it's a facial challenge to the ordinance based upon a First Amendment violation. Are there any other First Amendment violations besides the one about the prohibition against unconsented to recording?
I mean, number 15 down there, again, talks about the same kind of conduct, except as other by the mayor. Audio and or video recording may only be conducted within the city council chamber in any room or office within which said activity has been authorized by law. Any person found that an audio or video recording, except in, must cease doing so immediately. If any visitor, city employee, or city official expresses his or her desire not to be recorded, again, that's again unconstitutional. If I have a right to be someplace and I have a right to gather content, I don't need anybody's consent, which was part of the issue with the new ordinance that got passed. The part where they said if a third party walked into the lobby and they were going into a restricted area, I would need their consent to record them. I absolutely do not need their consent to record them in public. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, we'll talk about the new ordinance in just a second. But that number 15, isn't that the same?
Yeah, it's basically
issue?
the same thing. I don't know why they put it back in there. Maybe, I don't know, the lawyer who wrote it needed some extra bucks, so he added some other stuff in there to be redundant. I don't know. But yeah, just specifically that issue, the recording in the public areas without consent. That's the unconstitutional part. That's the part that I have an issue with, that I filed the complaint about.
Okay. Do you agree with me that employees and citizens that are doing business in the city have a legitimate privacy interest in not being recorded without their consent?
Not in public, no.
Or what do you mean by that, not in public?
Meaning that if I didn't have a camera and I could see it and overhear it, then no, they don't have a right to privacy.
What if there's a glass partition between you and the person on the other side of the counter?
Well,
and they're working. Do you think you have a right to record what they're doing?
I have a right to record anything I can see from a place I'm legally allowed to be. So if I'm standing in the lobby and they have a big glass window and they keep confidential documents back there where citizens that just walk up to the window can see, then yes, I have a right to record that.
So if I came into City Hall with an application for utility service and I was submitting my personal financial information, my social security number, address, phone number, and I handed that to the clerk for her to process that application, you believe you have a right to record that?
I myself don't get personal information on video. If I ever was, I wouldn't disseminate that. But if you're asking if it's legal for me to possess somebody else's personal information, the answer is yes, it's legal. If it's moral, that's a different story. You know, everybody's got different morals. Maybe some people feel it's not right. Maybe some people feel it is right. But legally, I'm allowed to have your social security number or my wife's social security number. It's nothing illegal about it. Only becomes illegal.
So I don't have
Only becomes illegal.
I don't have any privacy interest in submitting that application to the City Hall.
Well, not in public, right? So if you go to the DMV and you're standing at the counter and the DMV clerk goes, "Hey, what's your social security number?" And you go, "Well, it's 5558, blah, blah, blah," and 30 people in the DMV lobby can hear it, then no, you don't have any privacy rights. However, if you go to the DMV counter and the clerk says, "What's your social security number?" and you are actually interested in your private information, so you write it down real small on a piece of paper and hand it to him so he can see it, but never everybody in the building can hear it or see it, then yes, we create our own privacy, right? If I'm walking down the street in your neighborhood and you leave your windows open, I can sit on the sidewalk and record into your living room. It's up to you to pull the blinds. It's called creating your own privacy.
Okay. All right. Well, you're in the City Hall lobby, and you say you have a right to be there and record. Mm-hmm. And I walk up to the counter, and in the process of taking this application and sliding it to the clerk, and you're standing there recording over me, you say that you can do that, and it's my fault because I didn't create my own privacy.
Again, what I'm saying is that if a normal citizen can see it and overhear it, then there is no privacy. And it's a pretty simple concept, right? So if I go into an office and I have personal information that I don't want other people to hear or see, and they're asking me for personal information that I don't want to share, then it's up to me to be like, "Do you have someplace more private? There's a gentleman over here recording. I don't want him to see my private information." "Oh, you do have an interview room over here. Well, that's great. Let's go over there and I'll give you all my private information." What I don't do is expect other people to respect the privacy that I don't have because I'm flipping and flailing my private papers everywhere for everyone to see and hear. Then no, they don't have an expectation of privacy.
Well, I'm not flipping and flailing my documents. I'm just taking them and handing them to the clerk, which if you're standing there recording, your video